Therefore, this is normal. It is upstream from sexual preference. We are in a double bind with reproductive heteronormativity. Historically, both the normative coming of age, the young uprooting the old, especially young men, and of course the gender struggle, that is a more recent thing, feminism, queer resistance are all in a double bind with reproductive heteronormativity. To manage this double bind so that decisions can be made, life go on. If we love our mothers, or if we love our children, or if we queer ourselves and decided to have a child, we are in a positive relationship with this originary situation. Yet we cannot, of course, be in a completely positive relationship. Reproductive heteronormativity upstream from gender struggle in different ways is not just in the usual and recognized struggles. I repeatedly say, and I could go on about this at great length, I repeatedly say that reproductive heteronormativity is the broadest and oldest institution for validation. It goes from the affective, one thinks of it as private, to all the way public, so that you win legislation on that model if you happen to decide to legalize or not to legalize. But the legalizing of heteronormativity is neither here nor there. This law, I will not call it natural, is bigger than positive law. We are talking here about being in a double bind because we think that this is natural law, not positive law. It is upstream from imperialism because both colonizer and colonized are within it. It's upstream from capitalism because both capitalist and worker or subaltern are within it. It is the oldest tacit globalizer before the globe could be thought. And if we undo this one, the work really will be to see and analyze the immediate claims for epistemic transformation that will be made. The epistemic transformation is not so easy. This institutional technological transformation doesn't. What will happen is a very interesting question. We cannot undo it now, though these are good gestures, by deciding to keep our father's name or a fictive name. We cannot undo it by deciding to legalize it through political law of various kinds. We can be in a double bind with it, but when we are deciding, we do not congratulate ourselves. In Gla, where Derrida mourns his father, elsewhere I have discussed the difference between this and the text where he attempts to mourn his mother. He argues that Hegel suppresses a double bind about the family, I quote. The family is marked twice. It is a determinate, a most narrowly particular moment. Its place is inscribed in the encyclopedia and in history and the history of spirit, a finite moment. One never passes through it more than once. But this is the double bind that Hegel does not acknowledge, according to Derrida. Simultaneously, another account of the family must be taken on another register, another chapter. This determinate moment of the family, this finiteness figures, and then there is a parenthesis, for now, I leave a very large opening for this word, figures. I remind you of my reminder a bit ago. Mahasweta's Dulali is a figure working a critique. For Derrida and Hegel, the family is working figuratively in order to suppress a double bind. I quote, for now, this determinate moment of the family, this finiteness figures, for now I leave a very large opening for this word, it figures the system's totality. A certain familial schema, a certain family, figures the system's infinite totality. And he discusses the Holy Family, which we won't bring in. The system's infinite totality thinks, produces, and inflicts itself in that scene. Here is the finite determinate moment of the Hegelian family. I quote, after losing itself in nature and in its other, the spirit constitutes itself as an absolute spirit through the negative process of a syllogism, a simple model of the dialectic, whose three moments are subjective spirit, which is anthropology, phenomenology of spirit, and psychology, objective spirit, right, morality, Sittlichkeit. Sittlichkeit is untranslated from the French, and absolute spirit, art, religion, philosophy. Each of the three moments itself includes three syllogistic moments. End of quote. So, the family is the first moment of the third moment of objective spirit. Sittlichkeit is first moment, Sittlichkeit is the third moment. Family forms its most natural instance and accomplishes itself by destroying itself in Hegel in three stages as it must, for men, marriage, patrimony, education. Some Some talk of women comes in, but the argument is about men. Derrida in Gla tries to put on the right-hand side, as you know, a male homosexual. I quote, when one rashly says that the finite family furnishes a metaphoric model or a convenient figuration about the language of philosophical exposition, a pedagogical ease, a good way to speak of abstract things to the student while playing with the familiarity of family signification, if that can be thought and named without the family, then one needs to ascertain that the finite family in question is not infinite already, in which case what the alleged metaphor would come to figure would be already in the metaphor, end of quote. Because the student knows about family, everyone knows about family, so use it to explain something, right? Even then, I quote, what the absolute familiarity of the signification is must be known. There's your RHN, your reproductive heteronormativity. Why is it that everybody knows it? What is the absolute familiarity of something? This is how the double bind is launched. For Tilly Olsen, the double bind was, for the old woman, between grandmothering and mothering your own, and affecting and working for the collective other, Utsi, when you're not an honorary name. For Brooke Rose, between minding matter and body as matter as old woman, when you are in the critical margin of honorary maleship, a literary academic, a taxonomy. Mahaswepa's old woman is left to forage in youth and now has the wisdom of the animal. In post-reproductive old age, she is no goddess as old crone, as imagined by Clement of Alexandria or Nietzsche's Baubo, figuring truth. She too is liminal, but materially. She, and I quote, earns her keep. No bare life can earn her keep, so this is kind of critique of other stuff. She earns her keep. Even at 78 years of age, she binds kindling in creepers, drags it and puts it at the other edge of the yard. The women of the family give her some rice, salt, oil, lentil at month's end, 2 saris yearly, leaving it on the edge. If one feels like feeding, why give such a small amount of rice? This is the most complicated question. She often weaves the net in her mind with this question, but she's herself caught in the net and gives it up. With the belly always empty or 3/4 empty, there is nothing left in her body. She likes the fire's warmth, and for lack of blood feels chilled all the time. She sits by the fire even in Boishak and Drishto, the high summer months. There are translation problems here, because there are 2 words for warmth, tan and arch, which is it's hard to really get. And warmth is a kind of colorless word, but those words are kind of onomatopoeic words, but I can't do anything with it. So when she writes, the word warmth blossoms and falls like a distressed flower, it's really that word tan. Sometimes it is seen in the hot month of Choitro, just as dusk falls, far from the village, the woman plucking ripe branches of lentils at speed from someone else's field. Sometimes it is seen, very impersonal. Kokono kokono dekha jay. It's not like I have seen her or she is seen. There is but one reason to solve the food problem. She looks most unearthly then. Thin frame, the hot winds in her white hair, a rapt look in her eyes. Perhaps she is thinking of that lifelong injustice her nephew thinks. In fact, she doesn't think of the past. She too believes in the present, as he does. In her dream, she wears a whole cloth and eats a full serving of rice in a bare metal plate every day. Only rice, no lentils, no vegetables, only rice. I have argued elsewhere that, wishing to access what we imagine should be the impersonal subject of ethical behavior, understood in the hetero sense, we choose an abstract average subject and fall into the seduction of statistics. Her nephew, named Nobin, or the New, is in the seduction of statistics. He feels for the old woman and takes her in the dark to see the statue once it is established. She is allowed by Mahasweta a moment of dry wisdom, this is what I was referring to, clear of reproductive heteronormativity, when she perceives the statue as a statue, not the representation of a lost object as beloved, and is made to say in the book, the flowers at his feet are already wilted, Nobin. Crows will shit on his head. Dirt will cover him. Haven't you seen the distress of the god at Monasha's open shrine all year round? There is powerful irony here. In her innocent consciousness, the old woman conveys an equation of the man with the idol, the god the Manusha's open shrine. The merely good human man is somewhere else. There's no